Just about 5 weeks after President Trump announced sweeping tariffs across all of our trading partners on the planet, a major announcement in the Oval Office, Donald Trump, a major new deal with the United Kingdom. Let's take a look.
I just want to begin by saying that this is a very special day because it's Victory Day, World War II, May 8th. And just by happenstance, we have the Prime Minister on the phone, and we were great allies in that. And it's very unusual that the trade deal comes due, and we signed it up on the same day that we had a great victory, the greatest victory of them all. So we are talking more and more about Victory Day because we were a big part of it. And so was the UK. And it's just, I guess, I don't know what you call it. It's just incredible that that day is the same day that we signed a tremendous trade deal for both countries. So I'm going to begin by just adding that we just concluded the rare earth deal with Ukraine. That's been fully ratified and approved by their legislative branches. And so we appreciate that. And I'll be speaking with the president in a little while, a little bit later. And we appreciate that. But the deal is all now signed up and ratified. And we have access to a massive amount of very, very high quality rare earth.
All right, so rare earth minerals deal with Ukraine ratified by that nation's legislature. And now the art of the deal continues with a new trade deal with the United Kingdom after using the threat of tariffs as a major stick, shall we say, to get the carrot laid out for us. And yes, ironic that it's on VE Day, the day that we won the World War II in Europe with our great ally, Great Britain, led by the great Winston Churchill. So we'll talk about the art of the deal and how he pulled this off in a moment, because Commerce Secretary Ludwig had much to say about Trump's involvement here. But what is the deal itself? Well, the president read through quite a few of the bullet points here. Let's take a listen.
A historic step. The deal includes plans that will bring the United Kingdom into the economic security alignment with the United States. That's the first of its kind. So we have a big economic security blanket, and that's very important. And we feel very, very comfortable with that because it's been a great ally, truly one of our great allies. I mean, a lot of people say our greatest ally. I don't want to insult people by saying that, but I can say it's certainly one of our greatest.
Let's stick with special relationship, and it just got a little bit more special today, as you just heard from President Trump. By the way, you know who's quaking in their boots right now? You know whose knees are knocking? You know who's quivering right now? The rest of the European Union. Because of Brexit, the UK had the freedom and the independence to be able to negotiate a direct trade deal with the United States, and that's exactly what they do. Remember what Obama said right before the Brexit vote? Well, you know, if the Brexit goes through, when we make a trade deal, we're going to make it directly with the EU, and England's going to have to get to the back of the queue. He actually said back of the queue. No American says that. He said that to try to sway the vote in England. Well, far from being in the back of the queue, the UK is actually in the front of the queue. They're the first country to make a deal. And from anyone who's dealt with Donald Trump, either in the political realm or in the business world, they all sort of say the same thing. If you're one of many people that he's trying to make a deal with, you don't want to be the last. You want to be up front. That's what the UK figured out. More details on this deal from the president.
The UK will reduce or eliminate numerous non-tariff barriers that unfairly discriminated against American products. But this is now turning out, I think, really to be a great deal for both countries because it'll be really great for the UK also. So they're opening up the country. Their country is a little closed, and we appreciate that. They'll also be fast-tracking American goods through their customs process, so our exports go to a very, very quick form of approval, and there won't be any red tape. Things are going to move very quickly both ways. The final details are being written up in the coming weeks. We'll have it all very conclusive, but the actual deal is a very conclusive one. We think just about everything's been approved.
That stuff is important, not just the cutting off of the red tape there, but the fact that England is announcing, the United Kingdom is announcing that they're going to be removing non-tariff barriers that were inhibiting American products from making their way to market in the United Kingdom. Just by putting that in ink on paper, they're admitting that they had these barriers that were prohibiting American products. That's not a fair trade partner in any respect. You don't have to have a tariff. You can have other policies that keep another country's products from coming in because you're trying to protect the industry in your nation. That's fine. Go ahead and protect it. But that means you're not going to have access to our industry. And that's the bottom line here. President Trump has the ultimate leverage with every other country in the world because we are the world's customer. We are the biggest customer. We consume. Everyone criticizes America. Environmentalists criticize America because we're such huge consumers. And sure, maybe we spend too much money. Maybe we waste too much. Maybe we consume too much. Maybe we don't save enough. Maybe we have way too much fun spending and consuming stuff. Whoa, what's that? Sorry, jump into the view already. Stop that. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But as long as it is true, as long as we are the biggest customer on the planet, then every other economy who wants to do business will want to do business with us. That's the beauty of being the biggest consumer on the planet. And as long as we are, then we're going to need to be able to use that leverage. President Trump understands that. If you're selling a good or a product or a service, you want to go where the customers are. That's us. So if you want to come here, you want us to buy things, you need to do business with us and let us sell things in your marketplace. All right, a little bit more on the details here.
They're the first one we're talking about. And by the way, we have many meetings planned today and tomorrow, and every country wants to be making deals.
Yeah, expect a bit of a domino effect here. And one other aspect of this that's really important is that this weekend, Treasury Secretary Besson is going to be in Switzerland. He just so happens at the same time that China's trade representatives are in Geneva, and they're going to sit down and talk. And trust me, having this deal in place and secured gives our Treasury Secretary that much more leverage when he sits down across from the commies from Beijing, because he can say, listen, we laid these tariffs out here and we told the rest of the world, choose your fighter. Who do you want to align with? Do you want to align with America, with freedom, with democracy, with the nation that's been protecting you, with their military, with people who don't steal your products, don't steal your intellectual properties, don't use slave labor to manufacture things? You want to work with us, or do you want to work with the commies in Beijing? And the world is lining up to work with us. So unless you want to be left out in the cold and all of your people left without any factories to work in, and then they're going to be hungry and they're going to be starving and they're going to revolt and they're going to overthrow your government, you might want to make a deal with us. Oh, you know what? Maybe we don't want to make a deal with you. Maybe we want that to happen. Maybe Mao had the right idea in the first place. All right, I've taken it too far, but you get my point. So that's the deal as of now that we know of, based on the announcement from the president. He did have Prime Minister Starmer on the phone as well, on speakerphone, and he actually spoke as well. So what about the art of this deal? Well, Commerce Secretary Ludwig had something to say about that. And he basically let the world's media know this deal would not have taken place if anyone other than Donald Trump were sitting at the Resolute desk.
I want to make this clear. While Jameson and I worked hard, this was the president's deal. And people think, oh, that's not the way it works. If you got to sit next to him, I have the best deal maker to my left. And if you don't think that we take advantage of him calling the prime minister and getting that deal done, you don't understand who's the president of the United States. So he's the closer. He gets deals done that we could never get done because he understands business. He understands deals. And that's why we're here today. So he agreed they could send 100.
That's pretty good. And coffee is for closers. So give that man a big, tall latte. Well, I don't think he drinks coffee, does he? He doesn't do caffeine. I'm very suspicious of that. Oh, no, he does, because he drinks Diet Coke. All right, a little bit more from Ludwig.
People don't understand. He gets things done in a matter of time. This would have taken Jameson and I 3 years, maybe. And instead, we got it done in 45 days, certainly, because we work for Donald Trump.
All right. So now a couple of things here. First of all, that is without a doubt, true and accurate. If you ask anybody who worked in the first Trump administration or in this administration, they will all say the same thing. He didn't have any time for, oh, this is how we always do things. And we have these representatives at the third level go in and vet things first and make an agreement. And then they recommend it to the next guy up and the next guy up. And then finally you have your deal set. And that's when you bring in the chief executive and the president and the prime minister. And then they sit down and they have a ceremony and they toast with some wine. And then they sign on the dotted line. And Trump's like, no, screw all that. Get the decision maker on the phone. Let's just work this out. That's 100% how he does business, literally business, as well as business as the head of state. Now, you may say, oh, here's Ludwig, and he's gushing, and he's a sycophant, and they're all standing there, and they're making a pretty picture, and they're just, propping up Trump because you got to be on his good side, and he's such an egomaniac, and why do you have to compliment him and make him sound like it's a dear leader stuff, right? That's what the left will say. Well, let me tell you something. First of all, nobody, and I mean nobody, predicted that there would be this substantial of a deal made with a foreign country with this big of a trading partner, the United Kingdom, this quickly. Number one. Number two, all you hear is criticism all across the planet about this man. So if there are people who are within the cabinet or within the White House who want to say, no, actually, you guys all have it all wrong. This all is great stuff, and it's because of this man. Well, yeah, maybe once in a while you get to hear something like that, and it's refreshing. But let me just take a moment to remind you what was said about the tariffs, what was said about Trump, what was said about this entire situation just 5 weeks ago. That's all it was, just 5 weeks ago. Here's MSNBC the day after the tariffs were announced.
Can you walk us through the numbers? And is there any positive take on this?
Well, I can answer the second question first. I don't think there's a single positive take on this. This is all just bad. It's bad, as we talked about before, for inflation. It's bad for economic growth. It's bad for everything. But let me put this a little bit in perspective. We talked about the stock market today and how bad a day it's going to have. This chart predates that, and it goes back really to the election. And I want to just show you, because Trump's got a bunch, as we also talked briefly about before, of other economic and challenges he's facing. And so the stock market, which is this red line, our stock market, we start out here. And he was doing pretty well after the election. There was this burst of Trump euphoria, as we saw in 2016 as well. But since Inauguration Day, it has basically been straight down for our stock market. And that is a combination of anticipation of these tariffs, but also just all the chaos and commotion down there, the cutting, the Doge, all this stuff, and the uncertainty has really scared the market. And that's actually in stark contrast. China, which has had a terrible run in its stock market, has actually done exceptionally well. And even Europe, which is certainly nothing to brag about on the economic front, has way outperformed us. So Trump had a set of challenges already, as represented by the stock market before. And again, before yesterday, because we don't have updated numbers just yet, economists were taking down their projections for the economy for this year. So Goldman Sachs thinks that unemployment, which they thought was going to be 4%, they now think is going to be 4.5%. And these numbers are going to get worse when they put out a new forecast. Inflation, which they thought was going to be between 2 and 2.5%, they now think is going to be almost 3.5%.
Well, there you go. There's the experts on MSNBC, and they can't be wrong. I mean, after all, look at this guy. He's wearing a suit from some tailor in New York that looks like it was designed about 60 years ago, and he talks through his nose. So he's got to be right. And of course, the true measure of our economy is the stock market, as he just laid out there. Look at the Dow. Look at how we crashed yesterday after the announcement of the tariffs. And it's true. That's exactly what the Dow did. The Dow did crash right after the tariffs were announced, first week in April. And apparently things got even worse. Here's MSNBC just a couple of days ago screaming how terrible everything is.
I'm guessing it's how Wile E. Coyote felt, having vaulted over the cliff edge, suspended in midair, aware of what was about to happen, but unable to stop it from happening. This afternoon, the American economy, like our friend Mr. Coyote, is in that spot, in stasis, hovering before a likely plunge. How far or how fast will fall is a matter of some debate, but people involved in shipping, imports, and supply chain planning and economics are making themselves very loud and very clear today.
Do you notice how she's excited about this? She's rooting about this. She's making fun of it. It's like Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, which is a great boomer reference too, by the way. Thanks, Nicole. They're rooting for Trump to fail. They're rooting for America to fail. They're rooting for you to have economic distress and to lose your jobs. That's what they're rooting for. Their entire political perspective is wrapped up in the idea that they win when you lose. See, but here's the great thing about this. They've decided that the Dow Jones, the S&P 500, the way the market is performing, that's the true measure of the president's policies. Now, I reject their premise. I don't think that's the only measure. It's a measure, but it's not the only measure. But let's go with it. Let's go with their measure of what really makes a strong economy. The S&P 500. Okay, let's take a look at the S&P 500. This is a 3-month window. As you can see right here, you can see this dip. That's when the tariffs were announced, right? April 2nd, the S&P 500 was at 5670.97. And sure enough, boy, the markets, they didn't know what to make of this. They haven't had tariffs like this in, well, like 80, 90 years. They had no idea. What's this going to do to business? What's this going to do to imports? What's this going to do with China? What's this going to do with our banks and our investments? Sell. Remember when Trump called them panicans, I think he called them, right? Repanicans or Republican. I don't know what his word was. He said everybody panicked. Everybody panicked. And then look what happened. Look what happened just April 9th, like a week later. We had that huge surge in the market, and it's been up and down since then. But check it out today. As of now, as of this moment, because this is a real-time number, at 12:19 Eastern Time, on Thursday, the 8th of May, the S&P 500 is at 5,708.97. Where was it the day before the tariffs were announced? 5,670.97. So it's actually 50 points up from the day before the tariffs were announced. So by the left's own measure, it's all, why does that keep happening? By the left's own measure, the market has already recovered. And that's after only one deal. Because guess what? Businesses adapt and businesses figure it out and businesses see what's going on. And businesses then make adjustments based on the new reality. And everyone's now figured out, oh, okay, these are the rules now. This is what's going to happen. We can move forward. And this is even before the deal that is now pending with China. That's going to be complicated and messy, and no one can really predict what it's going to look like, nor should they try to predict. And that's sort of the point. Don't be on the side of people trying to guess what this means, because we haven't dealt with this before. We've never had a president who's tried to do this to try to reel back from where we've gone. See, the whole idea on the left was, oh, wouldn't you rather have your kids have a white-collar job and work in a service industry than work in manufacturing? Because manufacturing is a hard life, and you don't make as much, and it's not glamorous, and who wants to live in one of those Rust Belt towns? No, live in one of those coastal cities, wear a suit and tie to work every day, and let all those people in foreign countries do the manufacturing. And that was the mindset. Get your college education, get a white-collar job, work in the service industry, you'll be much better off. Except the problem is, when you need to manufacture something and you're stuck with a foreign country, like a foreign country that infected the entire world with a virus, then what do you do? And the American people have realized, actually, there's nothing wrong with working in manufacturing. There's nothing wrong with having a blue-collar job. In fact, going into a manufacturing job, or even better, owning a manufacturing business, you don't have to incur all that college loan debt that you would have to encourage to get a white-collar job in the service industries. You actually work with your hands. You actually produce something that helps people. You can actually build up one of those Rust Belt towns that the coastal elites love to deride. And actually, we have a strong, healthy, patriotic America again. That's what we're going through right now. And it's only been 5 weeks. The market's completely bounced back already. It's going to be a roller coaster, but it's already back to where it was before the tariffs were announced. And we have our first major announcement. And trust me, there are many more to come. And nobody predicted that it would bounce back this quickly and we would have a trade deal this quickly as well. Don't watch cable news. They're awful. and they don't know what they're talking about. And even worse, they arrogantly tell you that they do know what they're talking about. They arrogantly tell you that they know better than you. You'll never get that over here, ever. Let's just keep watching this and riding this, because this is a brand new America that we all envisioned, we all voted for, and now we're in it.